Shalom and welcome to Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Today we're looking at Numbers chapter 20. The title of this video is Moses Strikes the Rock. There are 29 verses. Beginning in verse 3, we see the word reviled being used in DISPLEASED, and what this word means is to verbally abuse. So the people, the Israelites, were verbally abusing Moses, saying, "We should have died in the destruction of our brethren before Yah." So they were verbally abusing him. They were being disrespectful. Versus the Maz saying they chode with Moses, saying what they did. But the word chode means speak out in anger or displeased rebuke. This can be done righteously, but in this case, the people overstepped their authority, and the respect that they should have had for Moses was not there. We see a huge difference when in the Septuagint it says, "Would we had died," meaning they wanted to die in the destruction of our brethren before Yah, versus the Maz, which says, "Would Elohim, would God, that we had died." So what God wants, they're saying, let it be God's will that we had died. That's not what it says. They wanted to die. It's clearly their own demand. It's what they wished for, that they would have died, but not that God would have wanted that. That's not what is being said here. So that's a huge difference. Verse 4, it says here, they believe Moses led them there, but in reality, he is an instrument of Yah. So let's just read this to get the fuller context. "And wherefore, or why, have you brought up the congregation of Yah into the wilderness to kill us and our cattle?" So they believe that, Moses is the one who led them there. Pardon, let me just, let me repeat that. Again, the people believe, for whatever reason, that Moses is the one who led them there. In reality, he is being used as an instrument of Yah for them to be there. And then we see the word "to kill us" versus that we should die. So Moses is the one killing them in the Septuagint, versus they would die just by whatever circumstances. Moses is not the ringleader. He's not the one who is planning their death, plotting and planning that. No. Verse 5, we see here, "Wherefore is this?" or "Why is this?" versus "Why have you made us to come out of Egypt?" So they're asking, why is this? Why are you doing this, Moses? And then they're explaining in the Septuagint, you did this, you brought us out of Egypt. The Masoretic doesn't seem to have a clue as to why we came out of Egypt. Obviously, they were slaves in Egypt. To bring us into this evil place, question mark, again. The punctuation does not exist in the ancient text, so that is a matter of interpretation and just speculation as well. It takes a lot of wisdom to be able to know where is the correct punctuation marks. So verse 5, again, why is this? Why have you made us come out of Egypt? Verse 8, we see your rod versus the rod. So it is Moses' rod or Aaron's rod, depending on who is being spoken to. But in this context, it is Moses being spoken to, so it is his rod. And then verse 9, we see the same difference again. Moses took his rod, it's not just the rod, it is his rod. So it belongs to Moses. He's the one who has ownership over it. It's not just anyone's rod. Verse 10, significant difference. It says here, this is probably the centerpiece of this chapter. This is where Moses made the big mistake. he was told to speak to the rock. It says here in verse 8, speak to the rock before them. So that was the instruction. But Moses didn't do this. As we know, famously, Moses and Aaron assembled the congregation before the rock and said to them, so he spoke to the congregation, he didn't hit them, hear me, you disobedient ones. Must we bring you water out of this rock? Versus, hear now, you rebels. Must we fetch you water out of this rock? So we can see a big difference. They aren't rebels, they're disobedient. Rebels is a lot more intent. It's on a higher or maybe lower, depending on your perspective. It's worse. It's a worse descriptor. They're disobedient. And in verse 12, let's read this verse. And Yah said to Moses and Aaron, because you have not believed me to set me apart or sanctify me before the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. So they would have been able to, but because of this, their lack of faith, they're no longer going to bring them into the land, and they're not going to see the land. They're not going to, well, not see it, but they're not going to enter the land. So was this intentional that they did not believe? Did Moses and Aaron, did they intentionally lose faith? Or was it simply Moses did not forget? Can we make an let me repeat that. Did Moses forget? Can we use the excuse that Moses forgot, but he hit the rock instead of speaking to it? Is that simply is it simply a case of human error where Moses forgot the instruction? That's a good question. It's hard for me to say. What we can conclude is he did not obey for whatever reason. We don't know the exact circumstances of why he didn't speak to the rock, but he hit it. And it says he hit it twice, not just once, but twice. It's one thing to hit a rock once, but to make the same mistake twice is showing it probably was intentional. But that's my speculation. Verse 13 is a huge difference. So it says here, this is the water of strife, because the children of Israel spoke insolently. Which means insultingly contemptuous, which is a deep hatred in speech or conduct before Yah. So they were very hateful in the way they spoke, the way they behaved before Yah, versus this is the water of Meribah. Okay, what does that mean? It means strife. Because the children of Israel strove, which means to struggle or contend with Yah. So the Masoretic is making it seem like, oh, they have a case. They strove, they contended with him because they have a case. They can do this because of so-and-so. No, they don't have a case. They were disrespectful. They were hateful of Yah, of his words, and what he had commanded them. So they spoke and behaved in a very hateful manner. Okay? So that's the difference there. Let's look at verse 17 next. It says, we will pass through your land, versus let us pass. So they're not asking for permission. They're just saying, we're going to pass through your land. Versus, I pray you, like begging, oh, we let us please pass. No, we're going to do this. But they still had to ultimately talk to them and see whether they would be accommodating, and Edom was not. Okay, verse 19, we have a big difference in 19. Let's look at this. It says, we will pass by the mountain, versus we will go by the highway. And then it says here, But it is no matter of importance. We will go by the mountain. So what is no matter of importance? Is it the water that they're talking about here? If I and my cattle drink of your water, I'll pay you. So is it the water or the money that's not important? Or are they saying rather to Edom, do not be concerned or worried about our intentions? It's no matter of importance. We're not intending to do anything that is harmful. Perhaps that's what they're saying, but in the Masoretic, it's saying that we will go by the mountain, and yeah, it says we will go by the mountain. That's what it says there in the Septuagint. Versus in the Masoretic, it says, I will only, without anything, go through on my feet. So we can see there's a big difference here. It is of no matter of importance. That's it doesn't say that. It says, I will only without anything. So it sounds like it's describing what they're going to do, which is go through on their feet. So whatever we drink, we're going to pay for it, but I will only do this without anything, go through on my feet. So it sounds like we're not going to bring any possessions, we're not going to bring any sandals, we're going to go barefoot. But that's not what it's saying here. It's saying that if we use your supplies, such as water or whatnot, we will restore it again. And it's really not important. Don't let it be an issue to you, whether it's regarding the supplies or maybe it's about whether they're concerned or worried about what their intentions are, because this is millions of people being migrating. So they're going to use up a lot of supplies for sure. And they pose a threat simply by being millions of people that could possibly take over their country or their land. So they're saying, no, it's of no importance. We're not going to take over your land. We're not going to attack you or anything like that. We're going to go by the mountain. Just let us pass through. So I think that's what they're saying. In verse 24, let Aaron be added to his people versus Aaron shall be gathered to his people. They're similar thoughts, but essentially what has happened there is Aaron died, so they have to bury him. They need to do the proper procedure. And it says here, because you have provoked me, you provoked me at the water of strife, versus because you rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. So it's one thing to provoke, it's another thing to rebel just outright. And it could be a provocation as a result of rebellion, but they were not using good words. They were hateful words. And then verse 26 is the last verse we're looking at. It says here, and take Aaron's apparel from off him, versus and strip off his garments. So we're not sure what exactly he took out from Aaron, but he was told to remove the apparel and put it on Eleazar, his son. It could be all his garments. So perhaps strip makes sense, but you're not going to do that in a way that is disrespectfully going to give him privacy, not in front of everybody. They're just going to remove his clothes. And it says here, let Aaron die there and be added to his people versus gathered. Again, a continuous difference. So that's all I have to present to you for today on Numbers chapter 20. As you can see, there are very significant differences in terms of tone, in terms of what occurred, in terms of the attitude of the people, in terms of even the rod of Aaron, that it does, or Moses rather, that it does belong to him. So thank you very much for your time. May our Father, may Yah bless you and make your way prosperous. And until next time, you've been watching Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Peace be unto you from the Father and the Son, Joshua, the Anointed One. Till next time.